Sims, let's go.
No, I'm good, but I bet you wish that I would have a one night affair.
Hello, everyone. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you're watching the GSL Talk Show. Tonight, we're going to be chatting with Miss Jenny Alexander, and she has an amazing testimony that you don't want to miss. Stay tuned.
Figure out that I'm not the type of girl that goes around.
Yeah, it's a miracle, baby.
I bet you wish that I would have a one night affair.
Welcome back to the GSL Talk Show. I'm here with Miss Jenny Alexander. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad to have you here. Welcome to the GSL Talk Show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, tell me where you are and a little bit about yourself.
I'm living in Ontario, Canada. I got married a year ago. So it's my second marriage. I'm married right this time. I got the right man this time.
Okay.
And so I used to live in Nova Scotia. I grew up in Nova Scotia, Canada, but I moved to Ontario when I got married. And so I have a new life and I'm writing and God is redeeming my story, basically.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes.
Like there's a lot to get into, but congratulations on
Thank
the
you.
nuptials.
Yes, thank you.
Love to hear about marriages and look, kingdom marriages, you know.
Yes, it really is.
And then also, it's like you kind of touched on a little something there as well, because it is possible to marry the wrong person, or
Oh,
do
yes.
things out of God's will and everything
It
like that. So
is.
I'm sure you're gonna take us a little deeper about that. But I
Sure.
mean, yeah, sounds like some good stuff going on. I'm glad to hear that you are not only celebrating this new marriage, but then it's like you already see that it's a new life completely, like, and everything. I think that's
Yes, God is definitely redeemed. He has what's a verse in Joel that says he restores what the locusts have eaten. So he did that for me for sure. And for
I
my
love
husband actually, because yeah.
Okay, sounds like some good stuff is coming.
Yeah.
I mean, the people probably gonna be wondering, like, what do you mean? Like, what happened? And stuff. So, as much as you want to share with us, feel free.
Yeah, sure. And so yeah, actually shortly after my divorce, I realized I wanted to write books to help others. This was like in 2012. I just started doing that last year. So I've written a couple books on divorce recovery. I've written about dating and toxic friendships, and I've written a poetry book even. So, and there's more to come. I have too many ideas, basically.
Look, I'm right there with you. I'm the same way. I was just chit-chatting with my virtual sister earlier. I was like, do you feel like I'm doing too much? And she's like, it's better than doing too little. I'm like, you know what?
Yes. Yep.
You get the right people on your team, right?
That's right.
They'll speak life into you. So shout out to them. But
That's
yeah,
right.
I mean, I hope that you're able to continue to tap into all those things, because obviously you have a gift, and it's something that one thing that I find about even just doing this is that it's just amazing how each of us has a piece of the big puzzle.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And so even the things that we feel like could be the worst situations, or I call like some of the situations I've been through in life, I'm like, oh, that debacle or whatever the case is,
Yeah.
right? It could be the lowest pain. But my debacles have led to the most beautiful things that I have in my life now. So it sounds like you've had some similar stuff going on. So I'm excited. I'm excited to hear about everything, these books, this redeemed marriage, like what is going on. Like, okay, so I guess here's the first question, and you let me know if it's getting too deep.
Okay.
Like, so in regards to the first marriage, right?
Yeah.
I guess when did you know that it wasn't right? And then two, like, did you feel like you missed red flags from the beginning? Like, do you want to tell us anything about that?
Sure.
That first?
Sadly, I didn't miss the red flags. I knew they were there and I ignored them because I wasn't sure I would find someone else. I was 26 when I got married. We'd been dating a couple years. We had some sort of a friendship. But one of the red flags, well, speaking of the title of your whatchamacallit?
Yeah.
Podcast, sorry. Brain freeze there. But yeah, we got intimate before we got married, and that totally clouded my judgment. I mean, had we not been intimate before marriage, I probably or maybe would have had the strength to say, this is not right, because even early on in our dating, something happened. I'm like, I don't want this, but I stayed because I wanted a relationship that much, even if it wasn't good. That's pretty sad.
Like, you already said so much with just that one section there. It's like you saw the red flags and you kind of ignored them because of the things that you desired and what you wanted. And so many of us do that, right?
I
We
know.
we know it, and then we still think, well, maybe. I talk about my journey all the time, especially when it comes to my ex, the gentleman right before my husband.
Yeah.
It was like, it started off okay, it started off cool, but
Yeah.
eventually I did start to see things, and I'm like, this ain't right. But then you're like, well, maybe, and this person can change, and I could, like, now when I look back on it, it was like he was everything I wanted, right? But then when I met my husband, I saw like what I needed versus what it was.
I
like,
hear you.
and I was like, okay, I see, Lord, now, but when you're going through it, sometimes you have to go through, right?
You do. You absolutely do. Yeah. And I actually wasn't even a believer then. I was in church. We were both in church. He was an elder in the church. Yeah.
No judgment, just saying.
No, that's fine. I thought I wanted to be a Christian. I thought I was, but I only had head knowledge. I didn't have the true understanding of the gospel until 2019, a year before I met my current husband.
Wow.
So, but yeah, so you can be in church and not be a Christian, even if you want to. It takes God to open up your spiritual mind to the truth of the gospel.
Yes.
But yeah.
Man, I feel like God does this to me all the time. Like, I'll be reading things or listening to things and stuff, and then I'll come and talk to one of y'all GSL guests, and everything just keeps coinciding where I'm over here like, that's why I'm over here like,
yeah.
It's crazy though, but it's an amazing thing. I guess it helps me see I'm on the right path, I feel like. But anywho, I mean, I know that I feel like there's just so much you can share in regards to this, right? Because that whole elder in the church thing, again, no judgment, but I mean, for me personally, right?
Yeah.
There's no judgment for me, but according to the Bible, right? Those positions are held to a little higher standard,
right?
Things of that nature. So I mean, hopefully he's on the good foot.
I actually don't know if he's in church anymore because he didn't continue with it after we divorced. As far as I know, he took up running instead, apparently. So, what happened was he had several affairs. The first one I knew about was actually with a member of the church. So, and then he had to step down from being an elder, of course. Anyway, it was just very messed up. But that wasn't the first affair. That was the only one I knew, and he never would have told me. It came out because of the woman. Anyway, it's a pretty messed up story.
Situation, yeah. I mean, and so what gave you the strength to leave that situation?
Even though I wasn't saved, I believe that God, like, he can speak to anyone. He can speak to unsaved people. And I believe he guided me because I was reading the Bible and I felt like he was speaking to me through his word, like with the parable of the lost sheep, and like people are valuable to him. And it's like, my husband, I should be valuable to him and I'm not. This is not what God wants for me. And I finally had the strength, like when I realized it was not getting better, it was getting worse. Like his behavior towards me was very cold, and it's like I kept saying, I need one more sign. It's like, no, I don't. And the funny thing is, I finally left the day I left, I wasn't planning to leave that day. I called my parents and I finally told them what was going on. And I said, I need to leave. I need to leave right now. And the funny thing is, that morning, I had made a big pot of slow cooker baked beans. He hated baked beans. So when he got home, there was a huge pot of baked beans waiting for him and no wife. So
wow.
it seems kind of like I was doing it as revenge, but I didn't know I was leaving that. Anyway, I do revenge with food.
Hey, I mean, listen, that sounds very not say dramatic, but I mean, I got a background in theater and stuff like that, so I'm picturing it as a movie or something like that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting scene, like really cool actually. You hate baked beans, the baked beans are there. Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, shout out to your parents for being there for you in that moment and stuff.
They
too,
were. And I went to their house and I stayed with them probably 8 months.
Mm.
And then I got my own place. But yeah, it was pretty messed up. And the relationship was so unhealthy that when I finally got free from that, well, for one thing, I could breathe again because it sucked the life out of me, literally. And I could breathe again. And I felt like, why is everyone so normal? Like, I just felt like, because I was in such an abnormality. And like, everyone is so normal. It's weird. I remember feeling like that.
That sounds actually kind of familiar. I feel like, I don't know if I talked to someone or heard something or whatever, but it's like when you go through something, especially like dramatic things or things that, you think that is normal. And then, real life or whatever is like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get it. I actually can relate because, again, that situation with the ex or whatever, it was like, at some point, one of my, I guess, sad moments or low moments was that I ended up like emailing myself just to like know what I had to think for myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because I just felt like with that individual, he just critiqued everything about me and mentally, like, and verbally beat me up like all the time to where it's like, why am I being received this way? Like, I've never been this person that he's, treating me like I am, you know what I mean? And like, what is the things that I like? You know what I mean? Like, what, losing yourself in the midst of the situation. And so then, when you come out, it's like, it is, I'm sure, traumatic, PTSD, all of that stuff. So,
yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still dealing with a couple of things now.
Yeah.
Anywho. Well, I'm glad to be on the other side too. Happy to be married and all that.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, it's so much better now.
Yes. So, well, I'm sure you don't want to like dwell too much on, that situation. But like, how long would you say that it took between you, I guess, giving love a try again and all of that, and to be where you are today? Like, did you have like a long time to heal in between or things like that? Like, how was that?
So I divorced in 2011. I didn't meet my current husband until 2020. He was the first man I dated.
Wow.
I mean, I talked to some men we met online during COVID.
Wow.
COVID romance. But I had talked to other men online, but I didn't really date anyone. And I had always I knew I wanted to be married again, like a real marriage. But I only wanted to marry the first person I dated. And I know that doesn't always happen, but it's like God honored that.
Wow.
It's pretty awesome. Because I didn't think I could handle a broken heart again. So that's why I really wanted to meet the right one the first time. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad God honored that for you. Actually, it reminds me of my husband. He says, I'm the only one he's like first girlfriend, first man.
Wow.
Only marriage. The way he talks is like, if something happens to me, he's never getting married again. I'm like, I mean, I can't make that promise. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I like, love romance and all that stuff. Obviously, here I am, GSL. But I mean, but at the same time, too, I definitely wouldn't want anything to happen to him because I feel like he's, definitely my person, if that makes any sense. So,
yes, it sure does.
so yeah, it's an interesting thing because I think people, like when they hear that, it gives the illusion that, like you just said, like you weren't dating or you weren't talking to anyone else, right? Whatever. I guess he was talking to ladies or whatever in the past, but it just never got to the, I guess, girlfriend stage or whatever. And so
definitely. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it happens that way, you
It
know.
does.
So
Yep.
I feel honored, right, to be his, I guess, girlfriend and
Yeah.
all that, you know,
That's
and
nice.
stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you said you and your now husband, y'all met online and
Yeah.
things. What do you want to tell us about that situation?
Oh, well, I was very skittish. I had a lot of anxiety. In the first month, I like cut things off with him 3 times because I was like,
Oh,
he was, but I knew he was different than anyone I'd met. He was like a gentleman, I could tell.
mhm.
And I couldn't get him out of my head. I couldn't let him go. And so I kept coming back. And eventually he asked me to go study, which no one had ever done, you know, kind of old fashioned and sweet. And so after
Yeah.
that, I mean, I still wanted to run, but I stayed steady because we were steady, right? But even right when he first asked me to go steady, he said, "If you need to keep running, you can. I'll wait for you." And it's just like,
Wow.
no,
No, look, I love little cheesy love stories.
I know. But you know what's amazing? Like his first wife left him. I don't know why. She wasn't too smart. But anyway, for no reason, like she just left him, and he's in the ministry, he's an assistant pastor, and he kept his ministry. He feels like it's a miracle ministry, but you know, she basically didn't want anything to do with the church or God, or she's so similar to my situation. But so the fact that I was running and kept coming back was reassuring to him too, you know, in a weird kind of way, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I get it.
yeah. So God
I
redeemed
was
both of us, really, both of our
I
stories.
see.
Hmm.
It just made me think about something. Like I said, I've just been seeing so many things that coincide with this right now. But
Hmm.
I know I heard recently some pastor or whatever case is was talking about like if someone wants to leave, it's if you're believers, right? And
Yes,
your
yeah,
spouse wants to leave, then let them leave.
yeah. It's the
You
scripture
know,
somewhere in Corinthians, I think.
but if but then if they're okay with staying with you and you're a believer X, Y, and Z,
Yeah,
then that's fine as well.
that's right.
So these are just like living examples of what the Bible says, you know.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
what it is. It's playing out, and you know, I'm glad that both of you all were able to find love again in each other. And
Yeah.
I
Me
see
too.
you seem so giddy and happy
Oh
about the
yeah.
situation, and so
Yeah.
I'm
He's
assuming that
amazing.
he's the same. And I'm excited for this. Okay, so I
Yeah.
mean, so when did you start writing your books again? Like, did you start writing before you
Um.
got into this marriage, or?
No. Actually, he encouraged me to write. I'd kind of given up on writing for a while. Because I used to write before I got saved, and then because I wrote Christian material because I was in the church, I was reading the Bible, but I didn't understand the gospel. But so I actually at one point threw all my writing out after I got saved. I kind of go extreme sometimes because you know I thought, well, I was fake, so my writing was fake, and anyway, I kind of put writing on the shelf, and anyway, but he really encouraged me in it, and I started a little bit at a time, and now I have, the 2 divorce books. I have a book on dating. I have a book on friendship and a poetry book, and there's more to come.
Yes. Yeah. Look, shout out to like again, Kingdom Spouses. They're gonna encourage you and help you
Oh
get to that
yeah,
next level.
definitely.
Like, I don't know what this is gonna do for the people that watch and listen to this. For me, there's just so much joy from this, hearing your testimony, because people, you hear so much negativity about marriage, right? And you hear so much negativity about men and
Yes,
all
yeah,
these things where it's like when you see people are happy, flourishing, thriving, it's just beautiful, you
it
know.
is.
So I'm just full right now. But anyway, we ain't even into everything in the conversation. But I'm really just full of hearing just the joy coming from you right now. Like
Yeah, and
it can
and
happen, people. Don't get
yes, it
discouraged.
can.
Proof.
Yes,
Two
divorce isn't
living
the end.
proofs right here.
Yeah. And when you have been through a bad marriage, like both of us have been, you sure appreciate the good one even more. Like you're more giddy, you're more thankful. We're in our 2nd year now, so it's pretty awesome.
Yay. I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
And so you said you're in a whole new city and everything right now, right?
Yep, a whole new city. I left I was a secretary for like 25 plus years, and I never wanted to retire. I didn't want to do that until retirement age. I'm 51, so I never imagined I would have been able to. I wanted to retire from that early, but I didn't know I'd be able to this early. So that's pretty awesome. And I wanted to do my own kind of thing, so that's what I'm doing.
That's living your dream, man. It's just like that's a whole nother thing that
Yeah.
because I feel that way too. I feel like I'm in this. I don't know if you would just say winning season or something, but I feel like I'm literally living my dreams. Like I didn't think. Sometimes when you think about stuff, but when God gives you this vision or whatever the case is, maybe you think about it bigger or different or whatever. And so I can sit here and say that, sure, there's some things that might be different. Like even this talk show is an example because, back when I first was thinking about it, it was like, oh, it's going to be on stage with maybe I have a panel of ladies or whatever, you know what I mean? And then we just do it for an audience or something. But the fact that it's virtually, right? And I'm able to talk to people in Canada and beyond, right?
Right.
There's no way I would have, if I was doing it the way I thought I was going to do it.
Yes.
I would have only been hitting people that's in my area. But the fact that God had a vision beyond mine, right?
Right. And where are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, okay. So, I have a brother in Georgia.
Oh, look at that.
Athens, but yeah.
Oh, Athens area. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've been through there a few times in regards to like being on a bus and going to like Charlotte, and then they go through Athens, and then
okay.
Yeah, that's as much as Athens experience as I had, but
I haven't had none actually. So you've had more than me.
Oh yeah, I gotta go visit each other and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So I do want to ask, because I noticed that you kind of brought this up a couple of times, and this might help somebody, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned like, you were in the church, but now you realize that you didn't know the gospel. You realize you weren't saved. You realize that, maybe you wasn't a believer the way you thought you were, right?
Yes,
and that's so true, because again, it's been another thing that's been reiterated the past few days for me about this concept of, God saying that, at the end of the day, you call me Lord, Lord, but you don't do what I say, and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel like you got to that point? Like, I mean, were you always in the church growing up, and you feel like maybe you just never got either discipleship or the right type of messaging, or like, how did you get to that point? And then how did you get out of the point to see like, what, I see my errors and I see the differences between, I guess, today and then.
Yeah. Well, my parents brought me and my brothers to church growing up because they wanted to give us the option of faith. And then once we got to be teenagers, they gave us the option, did you want to continue? And none of us did. But then when I was in my 20s, friends started asking me to church. And at first I was like, no, I don't want to go. And then a friend got baptized, so I went to show support. And then I got curious. And that's when I got the head knowledge of, Jesus was crucified. He was buried and he rose again. But I'd never really truly understood why. And then, so even though I professed Christ and I got baptized and everything, full of doubts, and those doubts didn't always surface, but sometimes they were more than others, or greater than those. Sometimes those doubts were more than other times. But in March 2019, they got really, really bad. And all I can think about is like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid of going to hell. I don't want to go there. I felt like I was going nuts. And I started searching online, which I don't recommend, because I got so confused. And because so many people are out there just calling so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I don't recommend that. I eventually went to the Bible. I started reading my Bible, like with a different purpose. And then I came across the story of Jesus calming the storm. And I'm like, wait, he's really God. And I'm like, wait a minute, but I'm a believer. I should have already known that. Anyway, it was kind of like, anyway. And then I began to search online again, but I came across this website, and it was called knowimsaved.com. And I was looking on that website, and the founder of that website had the same struggle I had for almost as long. He was even a pastor, and he wasn't sure of his salvation. And he finally, I think he read one of Charles Spurgeon's books, and he understood the gospel. Anyway, there was a section on that website called The Gospel Clearly Explained, and he explained Jesus from the Old Testament right through to the New Testament in a short form, and the light clicked. It's like Jesus did it. He did what my salvation is already secure because he paid the price. I finally understood.
Yes.
I still had a few doubts after that, but after a few months they went away, and I finally gained assurance. So, and you know what's amazing? Like that year, I started to like, hey, I want to marry a pastor, and I want to support a pastor. That's how I want to serve God. Because this man's website, he's a pastor, and I actually joined his church. He's in Texas. I joined as a internet member for a little while. And so he really impacted me, and I wanted to support someone like him, right? So anyway, then I met my husband, who is an assistant pastor. But in 2019, I started praying for a husband. And, I wanted someone to help and support. And I didn't know this, but my husband at the same time, at that same year, changed his prayer from Lord, send me a wife to Lord, thank you for sending me a wife. The same year I was started, that just gives me goosebumps.
It's amazing, man.
So,
oh goodness, there's so many things there that I'm, like I said, I was 2 in my adult life to understand that Jesus was God. You know what I mean? Which is something that, right, we should have known already. But I think the thing is, and this is what I say, maybe this is my excuse. You hear the Son so much, right, that you think 2 separate things, right? You don't think, and then poor Holy Spirit like never gets any play.
I know.
Like nobody hardly ever talks about the Holy Spirit,
right?
But yeah, so I was in my adult life, right up in like 20s to be like, oh, Jesus is God. Oh, and everything like that. So when you said that, I was like, here we go.
You could relate.
Again, there's a lot of that there where it's like, and sometimes I think we make it more difficult than it need to be. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, again, when you go into the Bible and stuff, it's so plain sometimes where you're like, why don't we get this? Like, I ask that question all the time. I'm like, why don't we live this? Why don't we do this? Why is this difficult? Like, why are we making it difficult?
Yeah.
I think it just boils down to like us wanting to do what we want to do and, liking what we like or whatever the case is. But,
I think when you come to Christ as a child, it's easier because my husband, he got saved at 6 and he didn't have the same issues that I did growing up. So, and we're supposed to accept the kingdom of God as a little child, right? Like I forget where it says that, but anyway.
Or like a child at least, like accepting what it says and things like that. And it's just very interesting. Like, again, hearing different people's testimonies and stuff, and then how we all can be going through these similar things. And even with you and your husband both praying for each other unknowingly, right? At the same time and all that
crazy.
But again, it's biblical because same type of things was happening in those days, right? Like one person's over here praying and the other person's over here receiving something from the Lord about that person that's praying. And then next thing they know, they come together. It's like, God sent me to you, I know.
Right.
So I guess another thing that shows that all of this stuff is still going on. There's nothing new under the sun, as they say. So.
That's right.
Man. So the divorce book, the dating book.
Yeah.
So and I look at the poetry, right? And more to come, of course.
Yes, that's right. You might like the title of the dating book. It's called, your listeners might like it. It's called Stop Settling When It Comes to Love.
I do like it. Yes.
I needed that book a few years ago. All these books I wrote for my younger self.
Thank you, right? Thank you for doing that because again, there are a lot of people that again are struggling with dating, I was struggling with being single, so I wrote my book about that. So to hopefully help the next person have a little smoother transition than me, right? Or be better than me, right? Or whatever. Right. So, but yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. We all learn things along the way that is ultimately not just for us, it's for the next person.
That's right.
And so, I mean, what you went through with marriage, even though, we hope and pray that the gentleman, repents, whatever he needs to do on his journey, right? Yeah. But we're grateful for where your journey has taken you.
Oh, yes. Yeah, for sure.
And so give us like a little, I guess, taste of, or maybe your pitch, right, for each book, right? Like
Right.
the divorce books, the dating books. Like, why should we read? Obviously, you've already shared multiple reasons. I mean, obviously, this lady has wisdom, right?
Yeah.
But aside from that, like, why
Yeah.
should we check out your material?
So the first divorce book is Divorce Recovery Handbook: Effective Strategies for Healing. It's it's like 50 something pages. It's a very short book, but it's like a handbook. It's a guidebook to help you, to give you a few tips to help you on the road to recovery. There are things that I put into place that helped me. I have different chapters. I have a chapter on fear, on self-confidence, and things like that. So, and then the second book is called On the Road to Recovery: Overcoming 10 Common Speed Bumps Post-Divorce. I go a little deeper into recovery there. And so that helps people with things like depression, shame and guilt, denial, forgiveness. And it, like one chapter is about denial, but then it talks about how to get over denial, which is by acceptance. So again, it's still a short read, but because sometimes when you're going through mentally taxing issues like divorce, you don't have time to read a huge novel or a huge encyclopedia, right? So they're small. And then the Stop Settling When It Comes to Love: Wise Dating Practices for Women. Men could read it too, but I wrote it specifically for women. That helps you know what a good dating relationship looks like. Like it talks about toxic traits in dating relationships, like cheating. It talks about long distance relationships, online dating, tips for online dating. Because who meets in person? I mean, people do meet in person still, but it's a little bit more rare. How to know what a good relationship or good traits are, things like that.
Nice.
And then I've also written a book about toxic friendships. It's called what is it called? Breaking Free from Toxicity: A Relationship Evaluation Guide. So these are all like guides. Guidebooks. So in this book, I talk about what a good friendship is. I talk about traits of toxic friendships, how to end a friendship, how to recover from a friendship, things like that. So I've dealt with those too. When I recovered from, I'm kind of getting off topic. It's on topic, but but when I was recovering from divorce, I started to gain confidence, and I realized my friends weren't actually necessarily that good for me. And so eventually I had to break away from those friends just in time to meet my husband. But anyway, and the poetry book, it's basically it's poetry about assurance. It's called Assurance for the Soul, an original collection of Christian poetry. And it's basically documents my struggle. So if you're doubting your salvation, maybe these poems will help you realize, what it means to be saved, and that you can find assurance, and maybe it'll give you assurance for your soul. So, boy, that was a mouthful.
Oh, you good, man. You totally fine. Like I just love hearing and seeing people like living their dream, living their passion, living and using their gifts.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's interesting that you touched on that friend thing, because it can get difficult. Even with relationships are difficult on its own as well, but friendships can be a whole nother thing as well. And then especially, relationships between family and all that too. It's like,
yes,
it's a whole thing, and so I don't know if you want to share any little bit, in regards to the inspiration for the friend book, but
I can. Yeah. Again, it's from lived experience. I had a group of friends that I grew up. We grew up with. We met in elementary school, and we had great times. But there was always a slight imbalance in those relationships, and I kind of knew it, but I was willing to settle. I guess I didn't have the confidence or the self-respect that I gained after divorce. So see, divorce can bring good things in your life. I'm not pro-divorce or anything. I'm not at all.
yeah.
But if you are divorced for, specific reasons like abuse, etc., good can come from it. So once I got divorced and gained respect, I realized, hey, these friends aren't good for me. And I mean, I really struggled because I thought I'd always have these people in my life. And then like, putting distance between us and then like ending the friendships was very kind of traumatic and challenging. And it's not talked about very much, I don't think.
That's true. That's so true because it's just like a breakup, right? It's just like, again, maybe even a little deeper because again, when it's friends or family, it's a whole nother thing. Like a boyfriend, it might be easier for you to break up with a boyfriend, obviously, than a husband, right? But then friends and family, you feel like, oh, well, especially, we didn't touch on family, but family's a whole thing. You don't feel like you can, because they say blood is thicker than water and all the phrases they say about family. Right? Friends can get on that same level as family when you're like, well, I've known you for so long and this, that, and the other. I've been wondering too. I've been like, Lord, is the season up with certain people or not? And there's been certain people that I feel like I guess God just allowed to do their thing or ghost me or whatever it is. And I was wondering, I'm like, what happened? But on the flip side, I'm like, I understand that, well, maybe it just was a seasonal thing and, and I've learned to accept that and things like that. And I still don't have anything on my end. So if I ever see them again or whatever, it's still going to be regular to me, I guess, other than being like, I ain't heard from you about how many years, but maybe I'll joke about it or something. But I mean, but it still was something I struggle with. Like even every now and then when I think about the individuals, I just try my best to just pray for them and just let it be, because my thing is like, I did my part in regards to at least looking them up or seeing if they were okay or trying to see if they were okay or whatever. And then I saw that I was ghosted or whatever. And then it's like, okay, well, what can I do beyond that? So, but sometimes, I mean, God will take people out your life like that,
That's true.
Or on the flip side, sometimes you might have to actually go through, like you just said, the separation process of being like, okay, I have to remove myself and stuff. And I haven't had to do that much. I've had to do it like in relationships and stuff or, dating and stuff, but I haven't had to do that with friends. And I think it's kind of hard. Like, even if I'm like, well, Lord, are you wanting me to do it or not? And then it's tough. I'm sure, so I'm sure it was a whole thing for you to go through that. So
it was very, very hard. And one thing I do talk about ghosting in my book, and I don't recommend that. Because
I mean, go ahead.
It leaves more questions than answers. I tried to ghost my group of friends. Like I just thought, well, if I just pull back and stop going, accepting their invitations, then they'll, we'll just go separate ways. And it wasn't that easy. So I had to have a conversation with one. It went terribly. And then another one, I had to write a letter and to say, I can't be friends with you anymore. And
wow.
Yeah, that was, and I had known this girl since grade 3. And anyway, it was very messy. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do what's best for you at the end of the day too. And that's one thing that I've learned to understand about other people in their situations too. They're probably looking at it the same way, right? The people that have ghosted or separated themselves from me, maybe that was better for them, right, to do that than to continue whatever relationship we had, whether it's like a working relationship or friend or whatever it was. So again, I could be confused over here as somebody that has been ghosted, and I don't fully understand and things like that. But on the flip side, I'm like, I understand that there's bigger things going on than I know.
Right.
Like, and I know I see this quote all the time. People say like, oh, basically that people get separated from you because God saw what they said about you when you weren't around or whatever. You know what I mean? It could be, you just never know, like what could be the reasons and stuff. So now I'm at the point where I guess maybe this is just me with my relationship with Christ at this point. I'm just like, hey, whatever stuff happens, for the most part, I just be like, okay, and just go with it and pray about it or whatever. But obviously, it took me a while to get to this point to be like, whatever you want to do, Lord, however it goes. And
that's good. Like that. That's a good, less stressful way to be.
I will say there's a lot of peace that comes with that. Like, don't get me wrong, I still get upset about something every now and then. But on the flip side, I know that ultimately there's a bigger plan, right? There's something beyond what I know and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I had to learn to be okay with certain things. And so
I should have I should have put that in my book.
Well, you're working on more, so I guess the next
there you go. What were you gonna say?
I don't know. I don't know. I forgot. But I mean, just this friend thing. I mean, so I get it. I'm sure it was difficult to the different transitions. Shout out to you for actually having the conversations, the tough conversations, or sending the letter or whatever you had to do to So how much peace do you have now with your friendships and marriage and situation in life?
It's good. I feel like I could probably have a few more friends, and like I met a few friends from church, and I'm friends with my mother-in-law is amazing. So, but I haven't made a lot of other friends here yet, and I guess that part of me is a little bit timid, maybe at times, because of, but of course, my husband is my best friend, so. That's the main thing. But yeah, I think it, even as you're older, I've heard too that it is harder to make friends. But I do think being in church helps, and having people with the same values, that is very key.
Yes ma'am. Yes ma'am. Well, I mean, I'll be praying for you about that and whatnot, that you can build more kingdom and relationships and friendships and stuff, because, every now and then I've noticed, well, for example, again, in my quote unquote winning season, right, I noticed like who's not here and who's here, and it's made me appreciate people that are there and stuff like that. And I tried to like let the people know how I feel, and whether it's like however I can celebrate them or whatever it is, to let them know that, I appreciate you being here for me. I appreciate, our friendship and things of that nature and stuff. So I guess in regards to like meeting new people and things, like hopefully, I guess that's again what the church is supposed to be, right? We're supposed to be fellowship. We're supposed to be, a community, not just a just go on Sunday situation. Like, so hopefully, maybe the small groups or whatever it is, or I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of online groups as well, author groups,
there are,
or whatever. There's options out there, and you can meet more people and things. And so I'll be praying that you meet the right people and it'll be continue to enhance your life and stuff. So,
that's awesome.
And vice versa, right? And you enhance them, obviously. We've already heard quite a few things that you can sow into people.
Right. Yeah, it's a two-way street. It's supposed to be a two-way street.
Or maybe the first ladies, get the first ladies in town together and get, I don't know. Look, I'm giving too many ideas now. I'm an idea generator now. So
that's all right.
But I mean, hopefully, these things encourage you and inspire you to. I guess my thing is, if we don't see something, or whatever, I feel like it's probably up to us to create it. I'm just a strong believer in that. So, for example, if there's no small groups in the church or no women's whatever, then it's probably on you,
right? That's true.
to create that thing. And then those people will come as you create. So.
It's true. You can't always let things come to you.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I think it's balanced too, though.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Balance.
Yeah, it's balanced with that too. God probably does want us. Sometimes it is waiting season, and you be like, "You sure you don't want me to do?" I was like that. Just what's the last year? At some point, I was like, "Should I?" I kept asking the Lord about getting a job. It was crazy. What's the last year? One of them years, it was in the midst of the pandemic, and I've just been pretty much doing with this, like doing the talk show, making books, doing daily inspiration, and then doing my little what I call my hustles from home, like my online business stuff. And I'm like, Lord, should I get a job? Should I get a job? And I keep looking and keep saying, should I get? And I felt like every doors is closed, and I'm like, I guess not. I guess I'm not supposed to get it, but because every now and then we can get like this where we're like. Or people like me, I guess, you get it like where you feel like you got to do the thing.
Yeah.
And then God be like, no, just wait, just chill. Yep. And then now he blessed me with a position at the church that I go to. It's like, I feel like they created a position for me because I'm like, I never saw any like notice about, an opening or nothing like that. And stuff like that. But I'm like, okay, Lord, let me just, I mean, the more stuff keeps happening in my life, the more I'll be like, okay, Lord, whatever you want.
That's cool.
Because,
that's a good way to be.
So, but anyway, man, we done got off track. We got to get back into so. Have you told us about all of your books at this point?
What was that?
You told us about all of your books, right?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay, so give us a little sneak peek as what's to come.
Okay. Well, I have a draft of a Bible study book for families that
Okay.
it's talking about how to use your imagination in your family devotions.
Oh, okay.
So,
You have children?
no, I did have a stepchild in the first marriage.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, and we're still in touch a little bit, so that's nice. But yeah,
Oh, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah, see, that's difficult too when you. Oh Lord, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, okay. Well, that's cool. So, what was the inspiration for? I mean, you don't gotta give us too much because I know it's in the works. But
Yeah. Well, I think actually my husband was the one who inspired that because, of course. Well, he when he was younger, he was a children's pastor and he taught them Bible verses by drawing them. So like so and he can draw. I can draw, but I have to look at something and kind of he can draw freehand, totally freehand. And so then I started to draw scripture myself, and it's sort of based on that, but with a little bit of extra thrown in. That's what started it. And I also I've written a children's book.
Okay.
And
I mean, I figured with all these illustrators around.
yeah, I would like to illustrate it myself, but it's like way more of a big deal than I initially expected. So I keep
I mean, look, your husband.
yeah, I know. Well, I thought he would do it at first, and he was excited to try, but then his time is limited. He's a bivocational pastor, and it is a huge thing. Like I didn't realize how big of a thing it was. And so anyway, I'm just sitting on that for now, but maybe one day. So those are two little things for now, but
Cool. Well, look, I know we have to look out for you because you already spoke over that you have multiple things coming and whatnot.
yeah.
Is there anything else you're working on as well, or is it just mostly you're focused on?
Mostly my books. I do have a couple courses on my website. One is free. It's called How to Create a Vision of Your Future Spouse, because that's something I did. That way you're less likely to settle when you know what you want. I mean, you don't always get everything you want. Like I had this humongous list. But my husband still didn't meet everything on it, but he met 51 plus items on. I had a big list. He met 51 plus items on it, and actually bonus items that I didn't even ask for. So, but it really helps, like create the vision and write it. Whatever that verse is in Habakkuk. Anyway, it's a verse kind of based, a course based on that, and then I have another course that talks about boundaries, how you can set boundaries after divorce, and that can help you heal. So
nice. Look, this lady's birthday. She's doing the thing out here, man.
Yes. So I wouldn't mind doing more courses either. And I've considered doing a podcast myself, but I haven't started yet. So who knows?
Well, what got me into it was finding out that it was as easy as downloading an app.
Right. Right.
I was like, you know what? I guess. And then it was 2020. That's when I finally kicked the idea off. It was on my heart and mind for years, but 2020 was obviously a shaking moment for everybody.
It was, yes.
And I just found myself in that place like, well, okay, there's literally nothing else to do. And I felt like I was like, so you're going to finally do that thing I told you to do years ago?
That's funny.
It's like, well, I guess I got nothing else to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here I am today, man. One of the best things in my life, man.
That's awesome.
I'm appreciative of this platform and you for visiting us today and everything like that. Is there anything else you want to share with us before you go?
Well, I just want to encourage anyone that is divorced to just that it's not the end. It's not necessarily the end. I always like to encourage them that any recent divorcees, or even if it's not recent, it's not the end necessarily. It could be a brand new beginning for you. You could become the person God always meant you to be. That's what happened to me. If there's hope for me, there's hope for you.
Amen. So where can we find more information about you and where are your books and things like that?
I have a website, and it's a very easy address, JennyEAlexander.com. I I had to use the E because there's another Jenny Alexander in the UK. So I did.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand that. Awesome. And so, and the books are everything's available.
Everything's there. The courses are there. The books are there, etc.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to, hearing more about you and your journey. I pray much more blessings for you and your husband and the
Thank you.
ministry
Yeah.
and everything y'all have going on. You all are welcome to come back as well as a couple.
Oh, thank you.
Just
Yeah.
because, we ain't got to get too much in your business now, but I'm just saying, I like for the married folk to come and, give us inspiration out here. Give
Right.
help the single people and married people
Yes.
as well. So come on back and let your love story continue to shine as it has shined today.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I really do appreciate you taking your time to talk to us tonight.
Of course, it was a great chat. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for watching the GSL Talk Show, and thank you to Miss Jenny for sharing her love story today. I hope that you all enjoyed the conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and check out Miss Jenny and her endeavors. Have a good night.